Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting APIs to Work. Today, we say hello to Brian Otten, who's VP Digital Transformation Catalyst at Axway. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
Hey, Eric. Always great to see you and the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah, you know that now. Yeah, and we have a Grand Canyon themed thing today, so that's good. So today, I want to talk with Brian because we both work at Axway and we work a lot with big customers and we work a lot with strategic issues. And just recently, I had this video where I talked about the execution gap, and I used the Grand Canyon as my little metaphor there. And the execution gap was this problem that in a lot of organizations, what we see is that APIs are still not treated as something strategic at the business level. It's kind of an IT thing. And a lot of organizations kind of have troubles, I would say, embracing this idea of what you can do with APIs and how you have to do that. And today we want to talk a little bit about how we help organizations doing that. Before we jump in, maybe Brian, you could just give us a little example from your experience. You work with a lot of really large organizations where you see kind of that execution gap playing a role, and maybe also like how you can get out of it just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much acknowledged that companies is new for a lot of companies, but I also see that API strategy is something that's taking front and center, which is kind of a relief for people like us who know and have known the power of using it as a transformative technology. Anyway, so yeah, I think there's always still a challenge when it's a tech-led effort. Because that's when companies still think of API as a sort of an integration component. And integration tends to be expressed in, well, we're cost saving, right? We're modernizing our architecture, and that can lead to improvement. It can even lead to improvement in delivery for IT teams. But I think APIs are business capabilities packaged up in a way that are highly consumable for others, right? In this world now, when you need to, I'm time copying, are you?
No,
Right,
sorry.
yeah.
I was just happy that you were talking about business. And I was like, yeah, that's the word I want to hear.
Right. Yeah. I think when they start to understand that in order to be connect to across the enterprise, but then looking outward from the internal landscape of systems and capabilities, that's when it becomes really powerful, because you become a company that's really easy to work with. And that's a great thing for the experience, and it's a great thing to expand your business opportunities. And in digital, it's essential.
Yeah. And I think it is challenging for a lot of organizations, in particular the ones that are not inherently digital, to really embrace this idea that digital transformation is not just a way to use technology to do the same things, but a way to do things differently while taking advantage of new possibilities of digital technologies. And one of the things that we've been trying is how can we change the mindset of these organizations that sometimes are still a little bit stubborn and saying, we understand we need APIs, but we think there's something technical. And so one of the things we've been doing, and it's actually a lot of fun, I think, is running these workshops where we first have a full day workshop and we call this digital reprogramming for leaders. And the idea there really is to take the leaders and shake them up a little bit and say, look, here are many things you can do with APIs. Because one of the things, and I'm curious about your experience here, one of the things when you hear business people talking about APIs, sometimes it's really just this, well, we want to charge for API access. And that's the thing we're always trying to say, well, you're looking at such a tiny slice of the opportunity space that APIs can give you, that it really makes sense to spend more time. And I'm wondering, in your experience, had you had the same thing where a lot of organizations are just looking at this very narrow idea of API monetization?
Yes, I mean, very recently, I was talking to a large healthcare organization, and organizations now have a commercialization unit or a commercialization team for their digital products and services. So we really have come quite a long way. But then you're right, there is this kind of misunderstanding that an API is just this connector thing, and it has throughput, and people will use it, and then we'll put a little like a meter on it, and then we can charge for the number of times they use it. But
and we can see the money coming in directly, right?
right,
That's gonna be nice.
that's right. But as you say, it's well, the first thing I always think about in API product design is it's very rarely one API, that's doing all the work. So that's one aspect of it, is that you're going to have a bunch of working APIs, and they're usually orchestrated, together to produce the result. Yes, you may have the one API that is the front door, which is we might call that an experience API, where a mobile app or a portal for your customers or your vendors or whatever will be using that API. But yeah, you're right. It's much more than just putting a little meter on APIs. You need to look at the product that's being delivered, or the service that's being delivered, because then you have an opportunity to move to a value-based pricing, and you can make it flexible, and you can bundle and unbundle. And that's what APIs are really great for, because you can combine them and recombine them to produce those bundles, or those flexible offerings for your customers.
Yeah, so I like this idea of bundling, unbundling, because it also plays well with, I like to talk about APIs as digital building blocks, right? Same idea. It's like there are these things that you take and then you start doing more interesting things based on these building blocks. Now, one of the things that I think is very valuable in that digital reprogramming for leaders format is to really go through like a relatively large set of business models. There was, which is now almost 10 years ago, which I find pretty fascinating, this wonderful John Musser presentation of, I think it was called 20 business models in 20 minutes or something like this. And that's pretty much what we do, just over a full day with case studies and everything. And I think it really is something where it expands the minds of some people, where they say, oh, I can do many more things than just directly charge for APIs, right? I can build capabilities that I then reuse or make available through different channels, so I become much better at those things. And so from that perspective, I think it's just opening the opportunity space to something much larger than was available before. And then when you then follow that, and you've done that as well, and I've seen you doing it, and I always liked it a lot. When you then follow that with, okay, and now we look at your business with that new perspective that you have, building up like a capability map, a portfolio, see as where you have gaps. So we really look at your business, right, and look at how APIs can help and change you. I think then it becomes really like a transformative exercise to go through. And I'm wondering, what kind of experiences did you have that were very memorable for you when you went through these exercises of looking at business capabilities, mapping them to APIs, seeing where gaps are, and so forth?
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations kind of they start to think big about this, which is exciting, right? So talking about reimagining the business, or as you say, taking the reprogramming everyone to think, okay, let's all move in the same direction for these 10 big initiatives. But then they're also thinking about the experience. And when you start to do that, you're thinking consumer, right? Because that's the other problem, is we've always found is that APIs, people think of them, well, we provide them. We have a provider mindset. So you're right. If you understand the business, understand your current customer base, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, where you want to focus, and then those are the targets for you. Alongside that, you have competitive drivers. So in the world of open banking, for example, you have, everyone's rushing to try and understand how to take advantage of open banking. So that has to figure into your strategy as well. And again, APIs are, front and center right there to be able to unlock, open banking capabilities, so you can do it consistently. So some of the experiences I've had, when you start to do that, you get technology people and business people together, and the technology people say, I have a fuller understanding of what I'm building now, right? And I understand where APIs fit in, and I'm not just connecting system A and system B. And the business people start to come together and they say, oh, I can see how the technology is going to complement our business models, and the way that, for example, we've been, one recent example, I was dealing with a financial services company, and they actually had specific losses, opportunity losses, because they're being asked for API access to certain capabilities in payments, in billing, in receivables, reconciliation, all of these things. You should have that now as a digital bank, right?
Probably, yeah.
So when that starts to hit home, now you have an urgent business reason for getting everybody together to build a program. So we're saying reprogramming people. The word program is really essential here, because someone has to guide people, someone has to get everybody moving in the same direction. And when that happens, my experience is that light bulbs go off, people start working together in a different way, and you're working according to a business model, as you say, that you've decided is going to work and is going to bring big gains and value to the organization. So yeah, I think it's a real kind of lever to get business and IT to collaborate. But we're not just saying those words because it sounds good. It's they have to in a digital bank or in a digital insurance or whatever the industry, they have to work together on this stuff. And APIs are a great kind of focal point for everybody to deliver.
The story that you had, with a bank, like losing business, that's almost an easy one, right? Because there, like the business side will actually say, oh, we lost that deal. And then they go through an analysis process and they can say, oh, we lost it because of this, right? So in that case, I think the pressure becomes more direct because you understand that you lose it because of a lack of API.
Yeah, and that's measurable too, right?
That's measurable, right? And this is where business people, they look at lost opportunities, right? And say, why are we losing? So that's pretty direct. But the thing where I'm always like wondering how we could do better is, I would say the most value that companies are losing are opportunity cost, right? They miss out on digital opportunities because they don't have this bigger space of thinking about things, and they just keep doing their business, and maybe the business is doing well, and then maybe it's okay, right? But I think nowadays things are changing quicker, and so that may not be the least risky way to go. And that's the thing that I have to admit I'm struggling with. It's like, how could you in the most understandable way tell businesses that the opportunity cost they may be paying is really high? And I think that's always the problem with opportunity cost, that you can't put a number on it. Right?
Yeah.
Have you
I think that's
succeeded like communicating that in some way, or have you seen companies really looking at it that way, saying, oh, we are really missing out on stuff that we could be doing, and not just saying, oh, how can we do what we're doing a little bit cheaper or faster?
Yeah, again, I think that's the kind of maybe more established mindset of saying, well, we got to go faster and do what we're doing, but do it quicker and do it, in a lean way, and we need to modernize, and maybe we move it to, cloud, and we replace some of our stuff with, SaaS based, and that's going to solve all the problems. But I think what you were really talking about there is, how do you foster innovation, right? Because you can think about opportunity loss and cost and the rest of it, but where you really making the big gains is you're the first one to the market with a particular digital product, right? And if you have APIs, you can make it easier for your target consumers, partners to consume that, and do it with a degree of self-service, because that's the other thing. You don't want to introduce digital products and offerings and then have some clunky way internally of getting them set up, getting them configured, all the rest of it. So it's a whole proposition of, it's truly digital, right? So I think when you start to make the move to innovation, now here's where we were talking about, having a portfolio or a set of APIs. We were talking about bundling, unbundling, recombining. You could imagine business product owners and managers and IT side people coming together, and I've seen it, and we and this is part of what we're trying to do with the workshops, is to say, hey, you can look at what you've got and then use that to drive innovation. Because that's another problem is, companies don't know what they have. Once you start to package that up with APIs, you say, we have all these capabilities that we could even partner with another company to fill in a gap in that capability. And now we're offering a really full, rich digital product to the market that we weren't able to do before, because we didn't have the APIs and we didn't have the way to connect to others to fill those gaps. So I think innovation is really where you make the money.
Yeah, and it's true, like what you said, right? They don't even know what they have. In particular, the larger the organization gets, right? They know that they're building all these different products, but the different capabilities that make up these individual things that could be recombined in new and innovative ways, I think that often gets missed. And that's why I find the second day so much fun, because there, when it gets to, okay, let's look at what your business is doing, let's look at what APIs you have, what APIs you might want to have, then I think you start getting this wider perspective of the digital capabilities that really probably will help you to innovate at some point in time when they're available as digital building blocks. So it's a lot of fun, at least for me. I have to say these workshops are something where sometimes you really see like these, the comic light bulbs like coming on. It's like, oh, now I understand. I want more of that.
Yeah, they want more of it. And then it's like you said, it's a combination of, first day education, exploring possibilities, making sure it aligns to their business and their business, targets and goals. And then you move into, you say this quite often, I've heard you say this, it's a bridging the execution gap, right? Okay, that's great. We could all walk away from a workshop, but we have real ways to actually get, practices, operating model, actionable stuff is what we're trying to get.
Actionable stuff, exactly.
Actionable things, actionable ways of working with real, valuable assets that can be used and reused, like a roadmap, where you can see all of your APIs, what they're doing, what type of API it is, and then map that all the way through to, well, it's used in this product, this product, this product. It supports this initiative, which now brings in the people and the process part. And then it maps up to our, main value drivers or main value streams, however your organization refers to those.
And I think this is really, this is like such a nice way of explaining the title of this video, right? Like taking care of business with APIs. I think this is really what you're doing there, right? Then it's like, okay, it's like, oh, what do we need to do so that our business becomes better or even changes as a result of using APIs?
Yeah.
Brian, thanks a lot for joining. I think this is a fascinating conversation. I'm sure we will have more of this because there seems to be, I think, a long road ahead of us where we can do this with many more companies. And it's always fun to see them changing and improving in the process. Do you have any closing words for our listeners in terms of, it's like what they should look out for or experiences that you had?
Yeah, thanks for listening. I hope, there are some things that you can pick up on here, because I do know that a lot of this stuff is going on in your organization. And it's just tying it all together.
At you. Exactly.
Yeah, it's going on. There are things happening that this really, I think, can tie a lot of that together. And it's a journey that business and technology needs to do together with a little bit of slight reprogramming of people's mindsets, I think.
Exactly.
It's not that painful. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks again, Brian, for joining. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. And until next time, all the best. See you.
Thanks.